mohon diganti dengan format nama peserta, underscore nama institusi, underscore kota domisili, sebagaimana yang telah saya contohkan. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Shalom, Om Swastiastu, Namo Buddhaya, Salam Kebajikan. Our Honorable Vice Rector of Academic Affairs UNJ University, Professor Dr. Andes Muklas Suseno, Mrs. Komalasari, Director of Early Childhood Education, Ministry of Education and Culture of Republic of Indonesia, Director of UNJ Graduate School, Professor Dr. Dedi Purwana Embus, Head of Doctoral Program in Early Childhood Education UNJ University, Professor Dr. Yuliani Nurani, MPD. Our distinguished keynote speakers, Associate Professor Chiaki Miwa, PhD, from Graduate School of Humanities and Social Sciences, Hiroshima University, Japan. Dr. Nekmah Batri, Senior Lecturer of Al-Zuri Institute of Higher Learning, Singapore, and Director of An-Nekmah Education Center, Singapore. Associate Professor Dr. Mazlina Binti C. Mustafa, Director of National Child Development Research Center, Faculty of Human Development, University Pendidikan Sultan Idris, Malaysia. Professor Dr. Fazli Jalal, Rector of Yarsi University. Mr. Widodo Suhartoyo, Senior Technical and Liaison Advisor of Early Childhood Education and Development, Tanoto Foundation. Professor Dr. Insinyur Neti Herawati, MSI, Chairwoman of Himpaudi Association. Dr. Padlia Parakasi, MPD, General Treasurer of Ikat Paudi Association. Dr. Asep Supena, MPSI, Lecturer of Special Education, Education Faculty, UNJ University. Our distinguished speakers, our esteemed participants, ladies and gentlemen, good morning to all of you. We are thrilled to have you all joining us today. I am Brotojoyo Retnawati, a graduate school student of UNJ University. It's my distinct privilege to be your Master of Ceremony this event today. Welcome all to the first International Comparative Early Childhood Education Policy ICECEP 2023, hosted by Graduate School of UNJ University in cooperation with Tanoto Foundation, AMCA, Himpaudi Association, Ikat Paudi Association, and various universities such as UNSIKA, UNSAP, UNHAIR, UPY, Bunga Bangsa University, and so forth. This event is held to obtain a comparison of early childhood education policies from various national to international perspectives by sharing the latest research on early education public policy to gain new perspectives on public policy theories. Well, without further ado, let's begin this exciting event. Ladies and gentlemen, we ask you all to please sit upright and direct your attention to the screen upon the invocation of our national anthem Indonesia Raya, followed by Mars UNJ University. Ladies and gentlemen, before we proceed, I would like to correct the name of our Vice Rector of Academic Affairs of NG University. It is actually Professor Dr. Suyono, MSE. We are sorry for the mistake. Ladies and gentlemen, we ask you all, now let us have a moment of silence to pray for the success and the blessing of this event. The prayer began. The prayer ends. Ladies and gentlemen, let us invite now the charming chairwoman of the Webinar Organizing Committee, Mrs. Yufi Fisalma, to deliver her report. Mrs. Yufi, time is yours.
Okay. Okay. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good morning. Welcome to join the international seminar on ICCE with the topic of analyzing the ICC policy system in Indonesia and other countries. We would like to thank you for this presence of official from the Universitas Negeri Jakarta Postgraduate Program, Mr. Director of Postgraduate, Mrs. Koprodi of the PAUD Doctoral Program, teaching lecturers and students of Universitas Negeri Jakarta, Vice Rector UNJ, Mr. Prof. Dr. Suyono, MSc, Director Ministry EEC, and participants who attended both on Zoom and offline, friends, colleagues, presenter, and keynote speaker, also moderators. Furthermore, I, as the chairman of the organizing committee, will submit a report on the implementation of this international seminar as follows. We would like to thank all participants who have been involved in this activity. For the first, Jakarta State University, YRC University Postgraduate Program, Doctoral Program in ICCE, Tanoto Foundation, AMKA, Himpaudi, all students, IKAT Paudi, ICC educators from Himpaudi, all presenters from various domestic and foreign university, ICCE practitioners and stakeholders, and also Khairun University, Unsap PGRI Yogyakarta University, Singapura Bangsa Karawang University, Cirebon-based Islamic University. The background of this activity is that the education policy is structured as a guide in acting, directing activity in education or organizing our school with the community and the government to achieve the goals that have been set. Education policy has a very important position and will determine the direction in the educational process. This will have a very big influence on the quality of education quality at various levels of education. The education policy system will affect educational practice, planning, and develop of the ICECE policy system needs to be referred to on academic footing and other supporting sciences based on interdisciplinary, multidisciplinary, and transdisciplinary approach. The purpose of the ICECEP2023 is obtain comparison on ICECE policy from various national and international perspective, forum to share the result of the latest research on public policy on ICCE, looking for the perspective of the new public policy theory scientifically. The term of the activity to be carried out is early childhood education policy system, named the activity the first international comparative early childhood education policy, or ICECEP 2023. The international seminar involves speakers from within the country and the guest speaker from the countries Japan, Singapore, Malaysia, as well as Indonesia students with university affiliations in United Kingdom. Budget for this activity, it comes from the collection of funds from the presenters, the budget from the postgraduate program, and the assistance from Tanoto Foundation and ICAD Paudi. Activities are carried out offline and online or hybrid. For offline, held on Gedung Pasca Postgraduate for 5-floor meeting room, and to go online via Zoom meeting, held on Tuesday, March 40, 2023. This experiment can also be followed on the live streaming of the postgraduate YouTube channel. Hopefully, this activity will be useful for all of us, especially. Thank you. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thank you, Mrs. Yufifi Salma, for the wonderful report. Now, may I invite Professor Dr. Dedi Purwana Embus, the Director of UNJ Graduate School, to deliver his remarks. Professor Dr. Dedi Purwana, the time is yours.
Okay, thank you. Okay, thank you very much. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good morning, everybody, and happy prosperity to all of us. The Honorable Mrs. Komalasari, the Director of Early Childhood Education of Ministry of Education, Culture, and Research and Technology, as a representative on behalf of the Ministry. Professor Dr. Siono, Vice Rector for Academic Affairs. Professor Dr. Fasli Jalal, PhD, as Rector of YRC University, and also our keynote speaker in this event. Head of Early Childhood Education, Tanoto Foundation, Mr. Eddie Henry. Director of Association of Muslim Community in Asian, Professor Latifun, PhD. Chairman of ICECEP Paudi, Mr. Dr. Sukirman, MPD. Professor Dr. Yuliani Nurani as coordinator of UNJ Postgraduate Doctoral in Early Childhood Education Study Program. The Honorable Speaker, Associate Professor Chiaki Mia, PhD, from Graduate School of Humanities and Social Science, Hiroshima University, Japan. Konnichiwa. Dr. Grandmother, Dr. Mahbatri, a Senior Lecturer of Al-Juhri Institute of Higher Learning, Singapore, as also as Director of Nehman Education Center, Singapore. Associate Professor Dr. Mazlina C. Mustafa, Senior Lecturer of Early Childhood Education at Sultan Idris Education University, Malaysia, as well as the participant of the first international on 2023 Early Childhood Education Policy System. Ladies and gentlemen, first of all, of course, I would like to welcome you to the first international seminar on cooperative early childhood education policy in 2023. Every country in the world agree and believe that early childhood is the golden age which must be treated properly to pursue the good quality of human capital for the future. If we take care of them improperly, we destroy our future generation. I believe there are many challenges facing by every country to make the policy in taking care of our children, so we can avoid take care of them improperly. I read the current reports from UNICEF on the early childhood development for Asia Pacific region, highlighted that there are some challenges that every government should be aware of. The first one is slow policy adoption and implementation on early childhood development program. UNICEF also highlighted that there is a challenge about weak governance and lack of intersectoral coordination. In every country, the third one is inadequate financing and budget allocation on early childhood development program. The fourth one is limited understanding of holistic early childhood development. And the last, UNICEF scrutinized there is a lack of quality and inclusive early childhood development programming in this region. So this is our task as the community of early childhood education, how to make a good policy, how to respond UNICEF reports in terms of several challenges. Then I believe this seminar will give us the answer of those challenges. I do appreciate that the organizing committee raised the hot issue on system of policy in early childhood education. This is to partly respond on what the UNICEF highlighted above. The seminar will share the best experience of the country represented by all honorable speaker. I hope this international activity can be held Association of PAUD in Indonesia and other stakeholders. Please enjoy this seminar and take a benefit. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thank you, Professor Dr. Dedi Purwana, for the remark. Now, may I invite Mrs. Komalasari, MPD, the Director of Early Childhood Education Directorate, Ministry of Education, Culture, Research, and Technology of Republic of Indonesia, to deliver her remarks. Mrs. Komalasari, the time is yours.
Terima kasih. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Salam sejahtera untuk kita semua. Shalom, Om Swastiastu, Namo Buddhaya, salam kebajikan, Rahayu. Yang terhormat Rektor Universitas Negeri Jakarta, yang saya hormati Direktur PASCASARJANA Universitas Negeri Jakarta, Ketua Program Studi S3 Pendidikan Anak Usia Dini Universitas Negeri Jakarta, para narasumber dan moderator, serta para hadirin yang tidak dapat saya sebutkan satu persatu. Pertama-tama marilah kita panjatkan puji syukur kehadirat Tuhan Yang Maha Esa, karena atas limpahan kasih sayangnya pada pagi hari ini kita dapat bertemu secara tatap muka dan secara daring dalam rangka pelaksanaan First International Comparative Early Childhood Education Policy atau ICECEP2023. Hadirin yang kami hormati, pada kesempatan yang baik ini izinkan saya menyampaikan salam hangat dari Menteri Pendidikan, Kebudayaan, Riset, dan Teknologi, sekaligus menyampaikan permohonan maaf beliau karena tidak bisa hadir bersama-sama dalam kegiatan International Comparative Early Childhood Education Policy ICECEP2023 pada pagi hari ini dan mengamanahkan kepada saya untuk mewakili beliau. Saya adalah pelaksana tugas Direktur Pendidikan Anak Usia Dini, Direktorat Jenderal Pendidikan Anak Usia Dini, Pendidikan Dasar, dan Pendidikan Menengah Kemdikbudristek. Hadirin yang kami hormati, kita tentu memahami bersama bahwa pendidikan anak usia dini sangat berperan dalam mengembangkan potensi anak dan membentuk fondasi kehidupan anak secara holistik. Pendidikan anak usia dini tidak hanya menyentuh dimensi kognitif anak, melainkan juga berupaya mematangkan emosi anak, kemandirian anak, serta keterampilan berinteraksi anak, dan sejumlah kemampuan lainnya. Selain itu, pendidikan anak usia dini telah diakui juga sangat menentukan keberhasilan anak di masa depan. Ekosistem PAUD yang positif oleh karenanya perlu diupayakan untuk secara terus-menerus. Karenanya saat ini kami di Direktorat Pendidikan Anak Usia Dini sedang mengembangkan kebijakan PAUD berkualitas yang bertujuan untuk menjamin anak-anak usia dini agar terbantu dalam mencapai lingkungan belajar yang positif. Selanjutnya, dalam konteks PAUD berkualitas, model PAUD berkualitas merupakan model dalam kesamaan visi lintas unit dan lintas pihak, khususnya kegiatan dan layanan pada pendidikan anak usia dini. Dalam model PAUD berkualitas, ekosistem PAUD diharapkan mampu menunjukkan layanan PAUD yang berbeda, lebih baik, dan tentunya semakin berkualitas. Implikasi dari model PAUD berkualitas adalah disediakannya norma, prosedur, dan kriteria atau NPK untuk satuan dan pihak lainnya sebagai ukuran layanan PAUD berkualitas. Dalam konteks PAUD berkualitas, kami juga tengah berupaya menguatkan kapasitas dan peran dari pemerintah daerah serta satuan-satuan PAUD di Indonesia dalam memaksimalkan implementasi sejumlah program Merdeka Belajar seperti perencanaan berbasis data, termasuk survei lingkungan belajar PAUD, sekolah penggerak, pengembangan anak usia dini holistik integratif, dan transisi PAUD, pendidikan dasar yang menyenangkan. Semua ini adalah upaya untuk masa depan anak-anak kita, khususnya anak usia dini. Oleh karena itu, kerja kolaborasi, gotong royong dalam menjamin kualitas anak usia dini saat ini adalah investasi untuk masa depan kita. Bapak Ibu peserta conference yang saya hormati, Kementerian Pendidikan, Kebudayaan, Riset, dan Teknologi mengapresiasi dan mendukung kegiatan International Comparative Early Childhood Education Policy, di mana seminar ini merupakan upaya yang sangat baik dalam membangun iklim akademik, sekaligus memperkuat upaya dalam rangka menjamin PAUD berkualitas di Indonesia. Bukti-bukti empiris dari hasil riset dan kajian Bapak Ibu saat ini harus diapresiasi dan terus didorong untuk membentuk isu PAUD berkualitas saat ini dan masa depan. Demikian yang dapat saya sampaikan, sekaligus saya mengucapkan apresiasi kepada seluruh rekan-rekan dan sukses untuk International Conference pada pagi hari ini. Terima kasih. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam. Thank you very much, Mrs. Komalasari, for the wonderful remark. Now let us welcome our Honorable Vice Rector of Academic Affairs, UNJ University, Professor Dr. Suyono MSc, to deliver his speech and to officially open the webinar. Professor Dr. Suyono MSc, time is yours.
Thank you. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. The Honorable Director of Early Child Education, Ibu Komalasari MPD, represent the Minister of Education, Culture, and Higher Education, Rector of YRC University, Professor Pasli Jalal PhD, Head of Early Childhood Education Tanuto Foundation, Mr. Eddie Henry, Director of Postgraduate Program UNJ, Professor Dedi Purwana, Director of the Association of Muslim Community in ASEAN, Professor Latibun PhD, Chairman of ICAT Pak Udi, Dr. Sukirman, Coordinator of UNJ Postgraduate Doctoral Early Child Education Study Program, Professor Yuliani Nurani, the Honorable Speakers, Associate Professor Chia Kimiwa PhD, Graduate School of Humanities and Social Sciences, Hiroshima University, Japan, Dr. Grandmother Mahbatri, Senior Lecturer at Al-Zuhri Institute of Higher Learning, Singapore, Director of An-Nekmah Education Center, Singapore, and Associate Professor Dr. Mazrina C. Mustafa, Senior Lecturer of Early Childhood Education, Sultan Idris Education University, Malaysia, Director of the National Child Development Research Center. On behalf of the Director of UNJ, I would like to express my warmest welcome to all participants. Welcome to the first International Comparative Early Childhood Education Policy 2023. Ladies and gentlemen, although education and the acquisition of skills is a lifelong process, starting early in life is crucial. Neuroscientists observe that if in the first few years of a child's life includes support for healthy development in families and communities, the child is more likely to succeed in school and to contribute to society as an adult. Conversely, without support during these early years, a child is ultimately more likely to drop out of school, earn lower wages, or depend on government programs. Throughout the years, early child education has been the focus in many countries. It has been foresighted that there will be a growth of 17% on the numbers of early childhood educators through 2022. Indonesia is no exception. In recent years, the Ministry of Education and Culture has put on efforts and budget in improving the quality of the early child education. For example, the Ministry of Education and Culture has invited local government and public sector to open new early childhood or preschool education centers. This will make early childhood education more accessible for the people. Moreover, improving early childhood teachers' competencies and professional development program has also been put forward throughout recent years. The benefits of early child programs are not just short-term in nature. Careful studies demonstrated that early intervention can have a positive effect on young children from low-income families that last well into adulthood. Therefore, policy of early child education may give a long-term effect on the nation's economical growth. In other words, it is a long-term investment. Today, we are delighted to have speakers from Malaysia, Singapore, and Japan, from whom we can learn about the early childhood education policy. This is a great opportunity for us to learn from one another. I would like to thank all the committee members who have worked hard to organize this seminar. I hope this seminar can be held annually, involving more international partners. And finally, by saying Bismillahirrahmanirrahim, let me open the international seminar activities. The first International Comparative Early Childhood Education Policy 2023, I now declare open. Thank you. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thank you very much, Professor Dr. Suyono MSc, for the wonderful speech and for officially opening the webinar. Ladies and gentlemen, before we proceed to the main event, we would like to invite all participants to open the cameras and pose for the group photos. Please, for the host, be ready to direct us for this purpose and to take our pictures. Host, are you ready?
Okay, 1, 2, 3. Next, 1, 2, 3. Okay, next slide. 1, 2, 3. Next slide. 1, 2, 3. Last one. 1, 2, 3. Okay, thank you, everybody.
Thank you. Big thank you, host, and thank you, everyone. All right, ladies and gentlemen, now we have come to the most anticipated moment, the panel discussion session. This session will be divided into 3 parts. The first 2 parts will be held first, followed by the third or last part that will be held after lunch break. Joining us today are 9 outstanding keynote speakers, alongside 3 amazing moderators who will guide us through our discussions. Now, let me introduce you. Our first moderator, Mrs. Ade Dwi Utami, MPD, PhD. Mrs. Ade Dwi Utami has earned her doctoral degree from Monash University, Australia in 2021. Currently, she works as a lecturer at Early Childhood Education Department, Faculty of Education, UNJ University Graduate School. She is also an active researcher and has earned many awards for her works and dedication. Let's welcome Mrs. Ade Dwi Utami. Mrs. Ade, time is yours.
Okay, good morning, everyone. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to our first session in the first International Comparative Early Childhood Education Policy, or ICECEP2023. I will be very grateful here to moderate, to be your moderator for the first session. And first of all, before we start our session with the presentation, I would like to introduce our beautiful beautiful speakers today. In this first session, we will have 4 amazing speakers, and then we will divide it into 4 presentations. And I would like to introduce the first one, our special speaker, Professor Dr. Fazli Jalal, PhD. He is a lecturer, and then the qualification of the PhD on minor in public nutrition, epidemiology, and Southeast Asian studies in Cornell University, Ithaca, New York, USA. And he is the rector of Universitas Yarsi, Jakarta, and being doctor in faculty and medicine, Andalas University, Padang, West Sumatra. Okay, and then our second speakers today, in order for the second presentation, we will have Associate Professor Chiaki Miwa, PhD, from Graduate School of Humanities and Social Sciences, Hiroshima University, Japan. His research area is early childhood education and care in developing countries, and recently engaged in the effect of early childhood education in rural areas. Her academic background is in Hiroshima University Graduate School for International Development and Cooperation as Associate Professor, and then the Kurosaki City College as a professor, and then Hamamatsuka Kin University as a lecturer, and also Associate Professor, been a while. And then in Hamamatsuka Kin University Junior College as a lecturer, and Nagoya University Graduate School of International Development as assistant professor. And she also works in UNICEF in Chile area office as assistant program. And the last one is his background, educational background in Nagoya University Graduate School of International Development. She also studied in University of Toronto, or you say for master degree in Canada, and also Nagoya University Graduate School of International Development, Japan, from 1994 to 1996. Okay, and our third presenter will be Dr. Nihma Batri. She is a senior lecturer of Al-Zuhri Institute of Higher Learning, Singapore. And then she also the director of Nikmah Education Center, Singapore. Her academic background, doctor in Pendidikan Agama Islam, and also second PhD in Dr. Falsafah Fikih Science Technology in UTM. Master's degree in Islamic education, and also degree in Islamic social and Islamic education from IAIN. Teaching experience for more than 30 years. Wow, that's amazing. And then her previous job is principal at Al-Istiqomah Mosque and education manager at An-Nadai Mosque. And the current job, Dr. Nihma Batri is a lecturer at Al-Hijrah, Sijil Special Diploma in Family, Islamic and Counseling and Islamic Psychology, and associate lecturer at Institute Pendidikan Tinggi Al-Zuhri, associate lecturer at Andalus, Singapore, and then associate lecturer at Cordova, Singapore. Last but not least, our fourth presenter that will be present for the last presenter today, Professor Madya Dr. Mazlina Binti C. Mustafa, the director of National Child Development Research Center. And she is a lecturer from the Faculty of Human Development, University Pendidikan Sultan Idris Tanjung Malim Perak, Malaysia. and her academic qualification is a doctoral falsafah in Canterbury University, New Zealand, and also bachelor in early childhood education from Macquarie University, Sydney, Australia, and also Sarjana Muda in Heriot Watt University, Edinburgh, United Kingdom. What an amazing speakers we have today. And without holding the longer time, in this full presentation, each presenter gonna talk around 20 to 25 minutes. We will start from Dr. Fazli Jalal, Professor Dr. Fazli Jalal, I'm so sorry. And then followed by Associate Professor Chiaki Miwa, PhD, and then Dr. Nihmah Batri, and then the last one gonna be Professor Madia, Dr. Mazlina binti C. Mustafa. To save the time, we will invite our first presenter today, Professor Dr. Fazli Jalal, PhD. Time is yours.
Good morning, everybody. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. It is an honor for me to speak in front of you this August gathering, especially when we have so many distinguished speakers from outside Indonesia. So this is a truly international seminar. The topic that I want to share with you, how Indonesia develop policy on early childhood development since the beginning of our Independence Day up to, let's say, 2 years ago. Yeah. As you also know that early childhood education, we can have different name: ECE, early childhood education; ECD, early childhood development; ECEC, early childhood education and development. So if you meet with different name, don't worry, but the important thing, how we view the student or the children from the student perspective, from the learner perspective. And this being boosted by the framework of education for all, agreed by 164 countries during the first International Conference of World Education Forum in Dakar, Senegal in 2000. So out of 6 commitment by the world for education, the first one is on early childhood education, expanding and improving comprehensive early child care and education, especially for the most vulnerable and disadvantaged children. So the rest is about other important goals for education. Then from 2000 to 2015, the world agrees on the trying to achieve what we call Millennium Development Goals. And goals number 2 is about education. Here we also being informed the importance of the early childhood education in achieving universal primary education as a main goal. And then we have from 2015 to 2030, we will have the what we call sustainable development goals. Out of 17 goals, number 4 is quality education. There are sub goals or what we call target in the number 4, and one of them, the importance of early childhood education and care. Yeah. So in Indonesia, since beginning of our history, actually, especially during Dutch colonization, early childhood education is a very, very limited, only being accessed by very few elite, especially the Dutch and Dutch related partner. We know that the Frobel School were available for a tiny portion of Indonesian, but then also the Indonesian start establishing what we call the 4 class for educating the mass entering primary education. And then the first Indonesian initiated kindergarten was we call Frober Kindergarten by ICEA. ICEA is the second largest Muslim organization, woman Muslim organization in Indonesia. Starting from 1919, ICEA has established the kindergarten. And then the name of the kindergarten being changed to Taman Kanak-Kanak ICEA Bustano Atfal. This is in 1924, 5 years after the first establishment. And then Ki Hajar Dewantoro, our founders of the education system, our hero in education, established Taman Lare, also known later on Taman Indria, as a model of the community development of the national organization of Indonesian, at the time still under occupation of Dutch, but he developed the special services for our early childhood. And then after the independence, we have also the introduction of Montessori, and then the organization of the kindergarten as part of the early childhood education are being part of national education system. And the legal framework of kindergarten for the first time after independence being provided by the law number 4 in the year 1950, and then in the year 1954 on principle of education and teaching school. Yeah. Then during new order, this is a very important order for later development of education, especially for ECD. Here, the ECD has been incorporated in 5-year plan, what we call Pelita. Yeah, this is a very important document. This plan developed every 5 years by the new president to be the guide of all program, financial, and also different indicators showing that how important the ECD at the time. The government developed preschool education in many ways, not only for kindergarten, but also developing the teacher training, upgrading from diploma 1 year post-secondary to become diploma 2 years post-secondary, and then improving the curriculum. And then non-formal early childhood education and care started to be part of national education system. This is a beginning because we divided the ECD into formal, which is kindergarten, and then non-formal, starting from the what we call the playgroup, nursery, etc. And then law number 2, the year of 1989 on the national education system, and the government ordinance, what we call PP, has been established and being guided the development for the development of ECD, yeah, especially for kindergarten. And then we came to Reformation era after the change from the new order to Reformation era. Here, the regional autonomy policies, very important, shifting from centralistic government to decentralized government, one of which in this regional autonomy is education sector. So provided local government opportunity to carry out different kind of early childhood education according to local culture, local context, etc., and based on the need of the community in many different areas in Indonesia. And then for the first time, we were able in 2003 to include the whole aspect of early childhood education in Indonesian national educational system law. This is for the first time. And then we have not only formal, but also non-formal part of the ECD in our highest regulation, which is law number 20. Yeah? And the government has expanded the scope of early childhood education because of the instruction of the law. And then we have a full swing of the different kind of the ECD providers, and also depending on age group. And then government further established specialized directorate I was DG, Director General at the time, and myself is planning with my minister, my boss, how important to develop a special directorate for ECD, and then we were able to do that. And then for the first time we provide national standard for ECE and establishing what we call the accreditation body, national accreditation body for ECD services as part of the non-formal education. And we realized that to prepare our students to be successful in the later on in the education system, starting from primary, junior secondary, senior secondary, and above, we need to have a quality early childhood education. By having this, we avoid the more, and many of our kids are repeating in the first class, second class, and third class, which is around 11% at the time. And then by successing in preventing that, we will reduce number of dropout, and then we accelerate the goals of compulsory education, because all of them are not repeating in the first classes, and then the quality of education can improve, reducing number of young illiterate, if we not able to do that, because many of them drop out at the younger age and they become illiterate at very early in their life. And then we include how health and nutrition status of the children being incorporated in our ECD. So then by having this, we expect acceleration of Human Development Index of Indonesia will be increased. We refer that by 2011, most of the developed countries and newly developed countries are already having around 90% of the children are enrolled in early childhood education and care services, and only few of them have less than 80%. However, for Indonesia, when we developed this directorate in 2001, our report from the institutional report, based on the report data collected by ministry, is only around 12% of our age group are enrolled in ECD, while at the time the BPS, our Central Statistical Bureau, did not report this because it's not important at the time. And then 3 years from that, the BPS has survey collected based on survey the number of the children enrolled, and the green bar is a Central Bureau of Statistics report, and the yellow bar is a report by institutional data collected by Ministry of Education and Culture at the time. And you see the discrepancy between the daily data reported by ministry and the survey based on the work of Central Bureau of Statistics. We also realize, if you want to boost ECD and improve the quality, you have to provide support, especially financial support. And at the time, the US spent more than $9,000 per year for each of ECD kit, and the average of OECD nations is around $5,400 per capita per year. And Indonesia at the time only $90. The red shadow, you can see the discrepancy of our expenditure per capita comparing to OECD average and US expenditure. That's why the available fund is so limited when we establish directorate, and then there's no professional staff at the time having special background on ECD, because many of us are expert in basic education at the time or non-formal education, and there were already children aged at 5 to 6 years old catered by kindergarten, but sit in different directorate and directorate general. And then also the Ministry of Social Welfare or Department of Social Affairs provided the social need by the children in 3 to 4 years old. And then others, which is 0 to 2, we expect they will be taken care by the family, but we have what we call the village health post or posyandu to try to incorporate this program into the regular program, which is aimed mainly for health and nutrition. And then this very limited university provided teacher education for early childhood education, and there were no forum to discuss multi-sectorally, cross-sectorally, and also across age group on the importance of holistic development of the children. And then when we developed our directorate, I instructed my staff at the time, divided the budget in 2 parts, 1 part for bureaucracy, 1 part to cater, to use as catalyst to community-derived ECD center. So for the non-formal setting, which is kindergarten, which is playgroup and other nursery, school, etc., none of those provider or provision belong to the government. Only few kindergarten belong to the government, but 99% of kindergarten belong to community, belong to private, and all 100% of the playgroup and the rest belong to the community. So then we provide special block grant to them. We bring all parties together, psychologists, medical doctor, especially pediatrician, and we bring also the educator, we bring also the anthropologists, sociologists, and many activists to sit down together. And then we agree how can we make a roadmap of how Indonesia prepare the ECD teachers and other education personnel. So then we made a roadmap. How can we develop if they are starting from graduate of junior high or senior high school? How can we provide a special program, certificated program, and then move them to diploma, from diploma 1 year, post-secondary, diploma 2, and we also start thinking at the time, how can we provide the PhD program for the ECD? And then we encourage and facilitate the establishment of the professional organization. We have kindergarten teacher association already at the time, but for non-formal teachers or ECD, we don't have. So when we establish in Paudi, and later on we will listen to Professor Neti, how they run the organization, what is the benefit of the organization to the member. And then we provide a bigger role for the chairperson of what we call the largest female movement in Indonesia. We call PKK, and usually head by the wife of the different layer of the leader in village, in district, municipality, and also the governor, as up to the ministerial level. And then later on, they become involved more on ECD, and they call themselves, or we call themselves, as a mother of ECE, or what we call Bunda Paut. And then we have penetration, huge penetration to whole bureaucracy. So then every layer of bureaucracy start collecting data on ECD, bringing different sector to sit together under leadership of mother of ECE or Bunda Paut. And then we preparing team to participate in drafting the National Education System Law, which is at the time no ECD as wholly ECD being mentioned in our education system law. And then part of the divided budget, half for committee, half for bureaucracy. And then we were able to provide not big, but quite significant amount of money to thousands of community generated activities to assist in new building or rehabilitation, or provided ECE material, etc., in terms of the block grant, so they can use this according to their need. And then we collaborate with professional organizations fully, especially universities. Now we have more than 170 of the undergraduate program for ECD teachers. So from nothing, 20, 25 years ago. So then we bring all best practice from Singapore, from America, especially from Florida University in Tallahassee, because we like to learn about BCCT, Beyond Circle and Center Time from Florida. And then we also provided a special master trainer for 3 months in Florida University, and then they train 200 of national trainers, and then responsible for 2,000 provincial trainers. We also thank for Dr. Wismi from Al-Falah College that invited, paid by them, a team from US, and then those team, in addition to helping Bu Wismi at Al-Falah College, they can also provide training for 300 to 400 provincial ECD trainers every year. So this make our capacity much more larger. So one of the important ECD policy developed in Indonesia, because we were lucky by collaborating with the World Bank and Dutch government, we were able to plan at the time, if we create ECD center in poorest district, in 50 poorest district, and about 6,000 villages, if we want to develop the center, how much the center can benefit the children, the parents, for parenting, for growth and development of the children, and how much children can be reached. So then we embark on this study. This is a community-driven development, and then participatory planning. They plan, we provide block grant, we provide guideline, we provide capacity building, but they select the location, they select the 2 teachers, candidate teachers, to be trained by us to become permanent teacher in the center. We provide the building, we provide the seed money for building, and they start collecting dana for the funding for the operation. And what we have as a result of this, for the first time in Indonesia, we were able to follow as cohort 3,000 children age 1 year old at a time during the for 4 years, and then 3,000 children age of the 4 years for another 4 years. So then by second year of primary school, we select what we collected data on baseline, we check again how much they improve in their performance in the primary school. This is for the cohort of 4 years at the beginning. And as you can see, the highest score, if they follow, first they go to with playgroup and go to kindergarten and then primary school. This is the highest. If they don't know ECD, the lower bar, the lowest bar, no ECD, this is the lowest score developed by them at the second year of primary school. But the interesting part, if you also include when they are entering these 3 levels, playgroup, kindergarten, and primary school, the highest score, if they start with playgroup and then followed by kindergarten and then entering primary school. But when they enter playgroup, the age is 3 to 4. If they enter the playgroup in the age bracket, in this age bracket, and then follow kindergarten at age of 5 to 6, and then later on enter primary school at 7. This is the highest score they get in the primary school. You can imagine the importance of following from playgroup, kindergarten, and elementary school, but the most important is age group. Age when they enter playgroup, age when they enter kindergarten, and then when they enter primary school. So this being used as an important aspect to retain many younger kids being pushed by parents to go directly to primary school without entering ECD. But with this study, this cohort, with big number and with better quality, and we prove that you have to go to playgroup first, kindergarten second, and entering primary, but you have to go on the appropriate age bracket. Now
Firstly, I'm very sorry, gentle reminder, you have 5 minutes left.
Okay, yeah, I will finish in 5 minutes. So we developed how we can provide holistic development of our children. So we believe that they need nutrition, they need health, they need early stimulation, they need parenting. It's important to they have the protection, yeah. And for that, we as a nation, we create document from BAPNAS, National Development Planning. How can we accelerate health and nutritional status early childhood, accelerate readiness of children to enter the school system, accelerate parents and family ability to care for children, accelerating the internalization of religious values and also culture, and the use of local wisdom in developing noble characters among early childhood, increasing access and equity, as well as the competencies of quality early childhood development services. And we also accelerating the competency of staff, etc. We, for the first time, we introduced different indicator for our ECD because we develop holistically and integratively. We start with percentage of children who have birth certificate, and then mortality, morbidity, or under 5, and then the prevalence of children with malnutrition, number of immunization coverage, and coverage of vitamin A intervention, executive, the exclusive breastfeeding, and how the pregnant mother being helped by the professional health workers, and etc. This is used to be not domain of education, but through holistic and integrative early childhood education development, we introduce in and being agreed by multi-sector, yeah. And then we have many support from president. We have law already. We have presidential decree to bring all sector together to ensure that provision of early childhood education and development will be holistic and integrative among the sector and among the level and among the type of services provided. So then I think all now talk about the ECD holistic and integratively, but we still have a lot of problem, challenge and intervention where we are. I'm not going deep into this. You can let them see my presentation, but I just conclude. We still have a big gap between the have and the have not in terms of the ECD probability. Yeah? How can they entering the ECD? If they are rich, they are almost twice the probability to enter the ECD services. But if they are poor, either for 4 years, either for 2 years, this data show that if you are having sufficient economic sources, and you are better off. But if you are poor, you need somebody, especially government and other civil society, to help you. And then finally, we need to maintain integrated and transparent and accessible data for the basis of policy. As I mentioned before, the discrepancy between institutional-based data and the Central Bureau of Statistics data. We need national campaign to change the mindset of the parents. Look like for ECD only you need to learn write and number and also what we call the Chalistung, yeah, which is read, write, and count, which is so massive in our ECD services, and we have to change how we understand the whole development of children and they need, and then strengthening the role of local government. And finally, how can we ensure the transition of ECD to primary education? This is still problematic, but we are working on that. And also improve the quality of ECD provider through mentoring program, best practice sharing, and etc. and it needs to integrate family education program with children education program, and parenting will be very important vehicle for that. We have to ensure integrating healthcare and nutrition services with ECD provider and improving access for ECE children, especially in rural communities, in deprived areas, in poorest and marginalized community all over Indonesia. We are achieving somewhat. We are quite happy with our achievement, but the problem is still big. We need to work together to ensure that every children have fulfilled their right, because we are there. We are with them and no child left behind. Thank you. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you for very much, Professor Fazli. And we know that 30 minutes is not enough, but we already heard from Professor Fazli about the whole context from policy perspective and how we integrate that in the implementation of early childhood education practices. And then we also can see the multidiscipline there about the health, and then about the education, and also about the psychology. And from the Indonesian context, now we will move to the Japanese context. And ladies and gentlemen, hold your question until the end of our first session, and then we will have a question and answer session for all speakers together. So we will welcome the second presentation. We would like to invite Associate Professor Chiaki Miwa, PhD, who's going to deliver System of Policy in Early Childhood Education in Japan. Associate Professor Chiaki Miwa, the time is yours.
Thank you. Can you hear me well? Hello, can you hear me well?
Yes, we can hear you clearly, Associate Professor Chiaki Miwa.
Right, and my slides?
Yes, for sure.
Okay, very good. Right, thank you very much. First, I would like to convey my sincere gratitude to the Rector of the State University of Jakarta, Indonesia, and also the Director of the Postgraduate Program for giving me this valuable opportunity. And please kindly excuse me for not giving individual names, but good morning to the distinguished guests, speakers, ministry officials, professors, students, and everyone. The purpose of my presentation is to explain the current system and policies of early childhood care and education in Japan. This is the outline of my presentation. Let me move to the first part with some data to describe the country's situation. As you know, Japan is a country with a size of about 1/5 of Indonesia, with a population half the size of your country. The annual population growth showing a minus figure here means our population is shrinking. Sorry. We also face that the other serious problem of the aging society. The population aged 65 and above accounts for 29% of the whole population in this year. In 2022. This graph shows an evolution of the total fertility rates and the number of live births in Japan after the World War II. Although we enjoyed baby booms twice in the past, the total fertility rate shown in the black solid line has kept declining since the mid-1970s, with 1.30 in 2021 as the latest figure. So you can say that Japan is suffering from a serious population decrease. What is worse, the number of live births of the last year was reported recently, which was less than 800,000. It was estimated that such a decline would occur in 2033, so that we are stunned by the fact that the dwindling population accelerated by 11 years. Many of the recent policies related to ECC in Japan has this core issue as a backdrop. The declining population implies shrinking economy as well, with the drastic decrease of the working age population by the year 2040. So who else can join the labor force? They may be housewives, child-rearing parents, elderly people, and perhaps the immigrants. Therefore, that the importance of ICCE in national policies in Japan has been increasing a lot these years. For one thing, we should encourage couples to have more children by reducing the financial burden of raising children and providing them with good education. For another, we should enable all those child-rearing parents who wish to join the labor force by furnishing their children with good quality ECC services. Now, let us proceed to the second part. I will explain our ECC system and policies from three aspects. One is access, second is quality, and third, major challenges. First, this figure shows the net enrollment rates by age and center type in the year 2019. First, for 4- and 5-year-old children, nearly all children enroll either in nursery centers, ECC centers, or kindergartens. For younger children below 3-year-old, the higher the age, the higher the proportions of enrolled children, although that the majority of them stays at home. Behind these access levels attained were the policies and reforms of access expansion. What are the differences among those kindergartens, ECC centers, and nursery centers shown in the previous graph? They have different laws and different governmental administration bodies. Japan's ECC has long been provided by kindergartens attending children aged 3 to 5, which is a school administered by the Ministry of Education, and by nursery centers for children aged 0 to 5, which are child welfare institutions administered by Ministry of Health, Labor, and Welfare. The third category of ECC centers was first introduced in 2006 in order to accommodate children aged 0 to 5, regardless of their parents' working status, and they are administered by the Cabinet Office. These overlapping administration systems lead to confusion and inefficiency. At the least, however, national curriculum guidelines have been coordinated among them so that the aims and content in each domain are made consonant across the three. The current ECC system stands on a drastic system-wide reform introduced in 2015 under the name of Comprehensive Support System for Children and Child Rearing. I will now refer to it as the new system. The reform can be summarized by the following 6 important points. First, it introduced the common financial support system to expand access to ECCE. Previously, there were different sources and methods of finance, depending on the type of institutions and also the local governments. Second, the ECC central system introduced in 2006 was reformed in order to create a truly unified facility. Third, child welfare and child rearing supports for parents in local communities were enhanced with a wide range of services. Four, municipal government, who are the closest to the beneficiaries, are now should make a plan of ECCE based on their needs, diagnosis, and implement their plan. Fifth, the whole society was asked to shoulder the cost of the new system by raising the consumption tax from 8% to 10%. Six, children and child rearing councils were created at the central and local government levels. They are the mechanisms to enable those concerned with children and child rearing support to participate democratically in the policy-making processes. As a result, new system established the current ICCE and child rearing support system as shown in this figure. I must admit that we still have a rather complicated system, but at least more unified than before. First, let us look at the left yellow column. We have two different ways of financing ICCE. One is center type benefits, and the other one is community type child care benefits. The center type benefit refers to the governmental financial support to ECC centers, kindergarten, and nursery centers. The community type child care benefits are given to 4 services attending children mostly aged 0 to 2 and licensed by municipal governments. All are small scaled compared to ECC centers. Financial support introduced later